Bank Register window. You can enter the following transactions in the Bank Register window: checks, deposits, payments to suppliers, payments from customers, sales and purchases. The Bank Register window is a fast way to enter transactions, as you can record a customer payment, pay a bill and then write a check without having to open multiple windows and switch between them. Note that you cannot use the Bank Register window to record electronic payments account. Select the account you want to use to enter a transaction. Balance. This field displays the current balance of the account you selected in the account field. Note that balance information does not appear if the date range entered in the Date From to fields includes purged transactions. Dated from. To enter a date range in this field, to display transactions for a specific time frame in this window. Get statement. Click to import a downloaded bank or credit card statements to reconcile. The file formats that are supported by MYOB Premier for automatic matching are OFX, OFC, QFX, QIF. Contact your bank or credit card company to receive instructions for the actual downloading procedures. Transaction history section. Date column. The date the transaction was recorded appears in this column. Transactions appear in date order, with the oldest listed first. You can click the zoom arrow to open the original source window for a transaction. SRC column. This column displays the abbreviations of the source journals for the transactions in the list. The abbreviations that can appear in this column include CR Cash Receipts Journal, CD Cash Disbursements Journal, GJ General Journal, IJ Inventory Journal, PJ Purchases Journal, SJ Sales Journal. ID number column. This column displays the identifying numbers of the transactions in the list. These numbers were entered in the ID fields of the windows in which you entered the transactions, such as check number. Payee column. This column displays the pay used in all spend money or pay bills transactions, or the information entered in the memo field in all receive money or receive payments transactions. Account column. This column displays the account used in the transaction. The word split appears in this column rather than the account, if the transaction contains multiple allocation accounts. The use of a tax code is not considered an additional allocation account. If there is just one allocation account and a tax code assigned, the account appears in this column, not split. Withdrawal charge column. This column is labeled withdrawal if the selected account is an asset account, and is labeled charge if the selected account is a liability account. It displays the rupee amount of the transaction. If a transaction has been voided, it displays the word void. Deposit payment column. This column is labeled deposit if the selected account is an asset account, and is labeled payment if the selected account is a liability account. It displays the rupee amount of the transaction. Balance column. This column displays the balance of the selected account as of the completion of the transaction. Transaction entry section. Type. Select the type of transaction. Check number. ID number. This field is named check number or ID number depending upon the entry in the type field. You may want to enter letters in the check number field for transactions that are not checks. When you begin to create a transaction in this window, this field will automatically display the next available check or ID number, which will become the actual transaction number when it's recorded into the company file. You can change this if you want to. Note: for cash payments, you may want to replace the check number with letters or words. Date. Enter the date of the transaction in this field. The system date or the last date entered, if different from the system date, appears in this field by default. Customer supplier card type, or select the card relating to the transaction. The label for this field varies based on the selection made in the type field. Amount: enter the amount of the transaction. Account type, or select the account affected by the transaction. If a supplier card is selected in the name field and a default expense account was entered in their card, that account appears by default in this field. If a customer card is selected in the name field and a default income account was entered in their card, that account appears by default in this field. This field appears only if spend money, receive money, enter sale, enter charge, enter credit or enter purchase is selected in the type field. AP or AR balance: the payables balance of the card selected in the name field appears here only if pay bills or pay supplier is selected in the type field. This payment is applied to oldest bill first. The receivables balance of the card selected in the name field appears here only if receive payment is selected in the type field. This payment is applied to oldest invoice first. Split: if the transaction requires more than one allocation account, click Split to open the transaction window that corresponds to the transaction type. All the data already entered into the bank register window appears in the transaction source window and the bank register transaction entry fields clear. Enter the transaction information in that window and click Record. Click Cancel to return to the bank register window. This button is not available if the selected type is Enter Sale or Enter Purchase. Tax: select the tax code, if any, that applies to this transaction. If a tax code is entered, the amount is calculated as tax inclusive. This field does not appear if receive payment or pay bills is selected in the type field. Job: if you want to assign the transaction to a job, type or select a job. Memo: enter a description of the transaction. This description will appear on various Premier reports. Category: if you use category tracking, type or select a category. Save as recurring: click to open the Edit Recurring Schedule window, and save the transaction as recurring. Note that you still need to click Record to record the current transaction. Use recurring: click to open the Select the Recurring Transaction window, where you view and edit recurring transactions. This option appears only if check, spend money or receive money is selected in the type field. Print: click to print the bank register report. Record: click to record the data that has been entered in this window. The information is immediately displayed in the transaction history portion of this window. Cancel: click to delete any entries you have made in the window.